Good morning, my fellow YouTubers. I had a quickie. This is going to be a quick video. I just wanted to kind of touch base on this. Uh, had a gentleman, and I'm sorry I didn't write down his name. And as you can see, I'm doing this video on the fly from my laptop, and I'm in a hotel room. But anyway, the gentleman said that the eunuchs that were born eunuchs that Christ referred to in the book of Matthew were intersexed and homosexual individuals. Now, I've taken a long time stance against this, saying that there's no way, it's not even conceivable in the mind of those of us that believe in Jesus Christ and Him crucified, believe in the scriptures as they're taught, believe in the Bible in whole. There's no way conceivable that will agree to that. I mean, I can't even conceive that. Um, well, anyway, I mean, I don't want to go into that because that's a whole nother story. Uh, Saying that Jesus was referring to intersex or homosexual persons is a moot point, and I tell you the reason why. Okay, because the eunuchs were and are people who do not have sex. I've said this like a gazillion times. If you have sex, you are no longer a eunuch. Does it matter if you have sex with a male or female? No. Does it matter if you have what type of sex you have, whether it's anal or oral or vaginal? No. If you have sex, you're no longer a eunuch. Period. Think about this now. Um, Castrated persons, eunuchs, were castrated persons, eunuchs that were made eunuchs of men. Eunuchs had themselves castrated, that made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom's sake, whether it be the kingdom of God or the kingdom of an earthly king, whatever the case. Eunuchs were made eunuchs for the purpose of emasculation, for vocal attributes. They were castrated basically so that they could perform, so they could be performers. They were made eunuchs in the service of the king, for keeping his harem, for leading troops so that they wouldn't be distracted by women, etc., and so on and so forth. Um, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And some people just disagreed with me when I said this, but there were some eunuchs, according to the encyclopedias that I've read, that were made eunuchs because of the fact that their family was poor, and their family was in a cycle of poverty. And in order to end the line of poverty, they made their sons eunuchs and offered them to the king for the service to the kingdom. If the king took these children that were eunuchs and used them, then of course the family would receive rewards. The child would end the child would either in the bloodline or in the poverty in the bloodline. So, and I've read that in some encyclopedias, some of the older versions, and I've noticed that some of the newer versions of encyclopedias don't have that definition anymore. So you might want to check some of the older versions. 1982 version of Encyclopedia Britannica. I think it's the 82 or the 85. At any rate, what the point that everybody is missing here? You're talking about Jesus referring to eunuchs, referring to homosexuals as eunuchs. Um, and eunuchs were considered homosexuals, and they didn't have a desire for women, etc., and so on and so forth. The point that you all are missing, which is the whole issue here, is that in order to be a eunuch, you don't have sex. Period. It doesn't matter what kind of sex it is. If you have sex, you are no longer a eunuch. Period. Now, in order to understand that, you got to understand celibacy. Okay? Eunuchs have pledged celibacy, whether or not they're able to have sex. And I've said this before, and I've said that eunuchs were unable to have sex in some cases, and they were unable to have sex. But there are some people that have taken vows of celibacy, that are in fact, able to have sex, but they've taken a vow of celibacy. They've made themselves eunuchs, essentially, um, for whatever purpose, you know. But now, once you have sex, period, whether you're physically able to have sex with a woman, or whether you have a homosexual sex of some kind, and there's no physical ability to penetrate for the male, then once you have sex of any kind, you're no longer a eunuch. Okay, so um, why don't you give me your comments on that? Tell me how you think about that. As far as intersex and homosexual persons being considered eunuchs, no, you know. Now, if you would ask me, were there some people who were keepers of harems that were considered eunuchs or called eunuchs, or that had homosexual relationships? Sure, but does that make it right? No. Does that make it the norm? No. Were they still eunuchs after their sexual experience? They may have been still considered eunuchs, but they weren't. Okay, answer this question: if you have a sexual relationship outside of your marriage, right, and your wife never finds out, are you still faithful? So think about that. And that's a good question, isn't it? I'd love to hear what you got to say about that, guys. Give me your comments, your statements, and remember, I post all comments and all videos except those with profanity. If it has profanity, I'm gonna remove it. If you continue to post vids or comments with profanity, I will block you from my channel. So. And that's not a threat. I'm saying that because I recently had an experience with a gentleman that just for some reason just um, thought that he was going to just profane his way to into a statement. Use of profanity in that regard is nothing more than a an inability to articulate your quandary. So um, let's hear what you got to say. Keep it clean. Remember, we are a family channel. Thank you, my friends, for tuning in, and happy YouTubing.